Food for thought. It's the plated traditions, food for thought. Food for thought. Food for thought. It's the plated traditions, food for thought. Food for thought. Food for thought.
On September the 11th, I was in my third period class at Huguenot High School. My principal announced a crisis at the Pentagon, but it wasn't until I got home when I found out the true depth of the situation. In New York City, 2 planes hit the World Trade Center, killing a numerous amount of people with no specific prejudice, just a determined plan to make a mark on America. Though for any other reason these people may have done this act of terrorism, they widely succeeded in clinching on the attention of America. Throughout the entire day, and those closely trailing behind it, laid an ominous cloud as the blazing flame at the decimated Trade Center sprawled its thick gray smoke, mixed with the emotions of the nations and the horrid smell of burning corpse. September 11, 2001 was a horrendous day for America and Afghanistan as well. It would not be justice to exclude this feeling from those in Afghanistan who might have not had anything to do with the act committed. But after this day and blind justice, they will stand a chance to lose their lives and families, just as those in the Twin Towers did. 9/11 affected us all as a whole, but I believe no one was more affected by this tragedy than the family members of the victims. They, and only they, could begin to imagine the pain of losing their loved ones, and they, and only they, will have to go on with their lives bearing this burden on their shoulders. Though in my eyes, what seems to be more tragic than the disastrous event itself was the unchanging attitude of those not so directly connected with the tragedy of 9/11. Being an outcast in all of my surroundings, I found that nothing was to change in light of the situation. I still was accepted to the same degree, a little below zero, and the same demeaning things spewed out of people's mouths with the same suffocating thickness as the smoke from the towers. I don't recall seeing anything change much as a nation, besides a few more gospel songs and canceled TV programs. Everything seemed to go back to normal. If it wasn't for the debris floating around in the air, I personally may have not noticed the seriousness this country was in. It is indeed true what you stated in the first paragraph of your entry form. Within every tragic event, there is room to grow and learn from both our mistakes and unexpected victories. Though, if you will not allow the mind to expand and see these views, instead of pointing fingers and passing judgment and blame on others, this statement is nothing more than a statement. It holds no ground and just repeats itself and not completely crumbling. 9/11 was and is a terrible trial still to be held in jury for all of those who at least claimed they cared about the outcome of this day and those to follow it. If we are not unified in body and are not willing to open ourselves to thoughts of unification and communication, then we are to remain separatists within our own country, state, being, mind, and the list continues. Until we do this, or at least attempt to do this as a whole, and not just a community or a city, but as a whole world, we will never accomplish peace. I said this because just as in a regular court of law, The jury is not decided and cannot speak of their verdict until all the votes are unified. The same is true of everyday living. If we are to make this world a peaceful one, of course, in order to make this essay one of peace promotion, we mustn't allow ourselves to go into the negative direction of not, can't, and outright refusal. I believe the first step towards peace is to gain it within ourselves and our surroundings. And if we can't do this, it's hopeless. But when we succeed this, if having nothing more than the faith of a mustard seed, we will be able to make a change that takes us farther in our accomplishments. Peace is not temporary. We can't get only halfway or 3/4 of the way and say it's enough, or insist on living in an eternal grudge. We will be allowing ourselves to go backwards, and we don't want to do that at this point after going so far in the march. You must first ask yourself, am I willing to let a painful memory get in the way of all the positive ones that could take majority in my heart? Secondly, you must understand and take into consideration that no one city, state, nation, or being has not been through a hardship as serious as 9/11, if not more extreme. Finally, you must open your heart and mind to its entirety. Then and only then can you truly say that you have traveled half the way. The other half of the march towards peace is keeping it up, trying to never allow yourself to stumble so badly up the steps that you are back at ground zero. It's impossible at this point in time, was virtually impossible at this point in time, for us to continue to say we don't understand or we haven't seen this before. I've had family members be drafted out into a war that people all over the world know about. Everybody knows about the Vietnam War. We do encounter a world whether or not we want to admit it or not, where people have been through devastating tragedies such as this all over the world. And while I know it's not 100%, I want us never to be so remiss or so negligent as to say they never heard of it before, or it doesn't happen to anyone else except for the people who they prefer to believe. There's no good side to this, because everyone has been through something. Evils from natural causes. Majority of the people on this planet knows bereavement. Whether or not they call it bereavement or not is not the issue. Whatever language they speak is not the issue. Whatever tradition they use is not the issue. But if we continue to make it seem like it's a one or another thing, that completely negates the whole purpose that even this organization who made this contest was seeking to do. It negates everything our United Nations, every peace organization around the world is trying to do. Trying to convince us that there's enough going on that we don't have to argue and continue to destroy, continue to hurt and maim. because of our personal hurt. And maybe if we take that into account, maybe we'll start lashing out on people and stop making it seem like someone has to pay for an hurt that unfortunately so many people are already too familiar with. But for what it's worth, being that this is International Peace Month, I thought it'd be interesting to share a essay that I wrote and I actually won first place for. But it's not to gloat. It's just that, to be honest with you, I didn't reread it after I did it. I proofread it to some extent, but after I won the event, I didn't reread this. So it's been 2 years since I've seen my words, to see my mannerism on paper. And as I feel that I haven't changed much as a result of this, I'm seeing a world that unfortunately hasn't either. And we don't want to continue that. Let's not make that a tradition, plated or otherwise.